Interesting. This is me and my wife who both went. He said that if you want to fast, first of all, do it in moderation. Okay? You don't have to kill yourself, because after all, you need to preserve your strength. You're young, you need that strength, and when you fast, it takes away from essential sort of things in your body. So do it in moderation. And he said, if you do it together. Don't let it be the case that one of you is fasting, the other one is not fasting. Why? Because you know how it is. When you fast, you tend to be cranky. You tend to be like upset. And if I'm miserable, the only way that I can be, a good contributing member of the family is that if everyone else is miserable with me, right? You know my pain, so you know where I'm coming from. But if I'm hungry and you're like, just fine, right? Then you won't understand, and you'll resent the fact that I'm fasting. So suddenly, what's happened? I've made the fasting something which is greater in sanctity than the sanctity of the believer. Now, this is obligatory fasting is a different thing. That's what we have to do, like what we're doing right now in the month of Ramadan. But these other things that we do, community service, extra mustahab things, they're very important. They're essential if we want to see any spiritual progress. But it has to be done in balance. Brothers and sisters, the last point I want to make is addressing the last objection somebody might have about this, which is they'll say that, okay, that's fine, brother. We understand where you're coming from. But the truth of the matter is that we still see some non-Muslims who are very inspiring. So what about them? We're saying that, we're trying to show that if you want to be a good person, you have to have Islam, you have to be Muslim, and that Islam will help you towards that goal. But then what about those people who are not Muslim, but they are good people? So are you saying that they aren't good people, that we should just condemn them and say they're bad? How do we respond to that? Brothers and sisters, there are some people who have not been exposed to Islam, but they still act on their conscience and what they know to be good. And they do it selflessly. They do it for the sake of goodness. And I'm sure you know examples of this. People who, they do the right thing at the right time. When it comes time to be happy and pleasant, they're happy and pleasant. When it comes time for them to be sad and to stand up against injustice, they do that. They're just great people. And the way that they treat their families, the way that they treat their co-workers, the way that they study in school, they're always exuding happiness and goodness. And we get inspired. We're happy when we're in their presence, but they're not Muslims. If there is somebody like that, and they have not been exposed to the teachings of Islam, then what we would say is that yes, they can be good people. They can't reach the heights of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim Islam. They can't reach the pinnacles of perfection, which is what the teachings of Islam will take somebody to. Without those, you can't reach them. But they can be good people. Why is that? Because sometimes these people are Muslim, but they don't realize it. They might even be saying and telling you that, no, I'm not Muslim. I don't even know what Islam is. They don't know how to spell Islam, or they don't know how to spell Salat or something like that. They don't have the slightest idea of these things. But they actually are Muslim. Why? Because they're working on the sake of just greater good. They're giving this charity because of greater good. They're doing things because of the sake of the spirit of compassion, the spirit of justice, the spirit of humanity. Well, when we're talking about doing things for the sake of goodness, and the sake of perfection, the sake of beauty, because it's beautiful, what is God? God is all of perfection. God is all of beauty. So when we do things because they're beautiful, when we do things because they're good, just because they're good, then we're doing things for the sake of God. So we're being Muslims. We're submitting. So for these people, we're not going to pronounce judgment. And we're not going to deny that there is goodness in them. Yes, with Islam they could go a lot further. And this isn't an excuse for us not to follow. But we're not going to be people who judge. And this is the spirit of the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim Islam. One time our fourth Imam alayhi salam was trying to teach people that they should never think of themselves as better than other people. And he gives it a story, and we'll end with this story. He says that, don't you remember the magicians of Fir'aun? That at one time in the day, they were the staunchest enemies of the Prophet of Allah, Nabi Musa alayhi salam. But after they saw the miracle of Musa, they totally went 180 degrees. And the Imam says that they became pious martyrs. They were enemies, but they became martyrs. The first martyrs for the sake of the cause of Nabi Musa alayhi salam. The Quran describes this beautiful. It says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." This is the month of the Quran, so I thought, let me just read the verses. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَلْقِ عَصَاكَ فَإِذَا هِيَ تَلْقَفُ مَا يَأْفِكُونَ. We revealed to Musa that you should cast your staff, and behold, it swallowed up what they had cast, because they cast their staffs, and that was just some trick, a magician trick. فَوَقَعَ الْحَقُّ وَبَطَلَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. The truth came to be, and the falsehood which they had done became nullified. فَغُلِبَ هُنَالِكَ وَانْقَلَبُوا صَاغِرِينَ وَأُلْقِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سَاجِدِينَ. The magicians went into sajda. They went into sajda when they saw this act. قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ رَبِّ مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ. They said, we believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun. You see, brothers and sisters, these people, it seems like they had already been working on themselves. They already had some purity within them. They hadn't completely blocked off the part of their nature that sought God. And so when this truth was shown to them, that was enough for them to then realize that, wait a minute, all we need to do is become Muslim. We need to follow Nabi Musa alayhi salam. So we hope, brothers and sisters, that we can inshallah live up to the ideals of Islam. We can be shining examples of Islam. We live in a non-Muslim society, and it's our responsibility to be flag bearers for Islam, to show with our actions. Call to the people, Allah tells us, call to the people without using your tongue, with your actions. So let us pray that Allah gives us tawfiq to work on ourselves, apply these principles, and inshallah be standards and become the soldiers of Imam Zaman.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.